So, I've recently started, basically collecting physical video games. And when I say recent, I've been doing it for a few weeks. I've got my hands on quite a few games. I'm going to be talking about them, covering them in separate videos. But it's made me realise and start questioning physical versus digital. In this video, we're going to be going through exactly why I believe we need to preserve physical video games. And when I say preserve, I don't necessarily mean put it in a dust protector sleeve and keep it good and make sure your discs are looked after. That should just basically come naturally. What I mean is we need to keep physical video games going for as long as we possibly can. We need to fight against going all digital. And I know a lot of you are going to have different opinions. Leave all of them in the comments. Let me know what you think. There's a bunch of different sort of subtopics in this video. But we're going to start with, if you buy a digital game, you may get access to the soundtrack, you may get early access. I've seen it with an upcoming title, I think it's Dynasty Warriors Origins. If you buy the £80 edition of that game, you get 2 days early access. Some games give you 3 days, some games give you a week. But you'll get the main game, you might get a season pass, you could get a couple of DLCs with that. You'll possibly get a soundtrack, and that's pretty much it. If you buy a physical copy of a game, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be a collector's edition, there is so much stuff you can get with these. I've recently bought myself a bunch of limited edition stuff. As I said, I'll be covering videos talking about all of my pickups and stuff. I will be doing all of that, but some examples are Alone in the Dark for the Xbox 360. That comes with an actual figure, a statue of the character you play as. And that's I believe it's a 2008 Xbox 360 game. You've also got Hot Wheels Challenge Accepted. That edition comes with a Hot Wheels car. Among Us, the Imposter Edition, comes with a plush, a plushie, Teddy. You've then got Destiny 1 and 2. I've picked both of those up recently, the limited editions of those. And they come with a bunch of art books. There's so many things that come in those boxes. So when it comes to digital and physical in terms of the stuff you get with it, digital, you just basically get the game, maybe a season pass. You might get a bit of early access and a soundtrack. With physical, there's the opportunity, even if you, say, wait a few years, get your hands on a second-hand, cheaper version, say it's very good condition, you get a limited edition, collector's editions, you just get a lot of cooler stuff. I bought Skyrim, one of my first actual pickups. I think I paid £2 for it in a charity shop or something like that. And with that, the map you get inside that case, it's so cool. It's not just a paper map. It's like a canvas sort of mesh sort of feeling material. And if you was to go, for pure example, say you was to go buy Skyrim digitally, you're not going to get that physical map with it. So I think for collectibles, for maps, for different cool art books and soundtracks, some games even come with extra discs that have the making of the game on them. So that's one thing regarding physical versus digital. You get a lot cooler stuff with physical copies of games. Even modern ones, the collector's editions, Elden Ring, Black Myth, Wukong. And not only that, when you purchase, say for an example, you buy a game, you don't like it. If you've got the digital copy, you can't do anything with it. If you've played over 2 hours or you've had it for more than 14 days, you can't get a refund on Steam. Not sure about the Xbox and PlayStation policies or anything like that. But if you bought that game and you bought the physical copy, you can then stick it on eBay. You can sell it. You can get a little bit of your money back and you can provide that game to someone at a lower cost for them to enjoy. And yes, a lot of people out there have enough money to go and buy all of the collector's editions they want. But there are some people out there that would love to play a brand new £70 title and they've only got £50 for it. And if you've bought the physical copy, you don't like it, you can sell it, they might be able to buy it and they can go out and enjoy it as well. And when you buy digital games, you're just buying a license to play the game. You don't actually own that game. And the companies behind the game at any point can take those games away, like what Ubisoft did with The Crew. They didn't just take the servers offline, people were logging into their Ubisoft account and seeing that the entire game was missing from their library. And if you've got a physical copy of a game, they can't just come to your house and take it away from you. So even if the game is online only and it's dead, you still got that physical copy of that game. So when you buy digital, you're pretty much just getting a license. When you're buying physical, even if it's a live service online only game, you still own that disc. It's your property. You can do whatever you want with it. They're not going to recall all of the physical copies if they take the servers down. So it might be completely pointless. You might just end up using it as a drinks coaster on your table, but you still physically own that copy of the game that you've purchased. And the digital games are more of a convenience than they are anything else. Instead of having to wait for Royal Mail to deliver your copy of your game, instead of having to leave your home, you can just load up Steam and purchase the game and it's ready to start installing. I would say midnight, but most games come out at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon now. So yeah, I think digital games are like, they're a massive convenience which can be incredibly helpful. But it's not always the best way to have everything convenient. Convenience just makes people lazy, and it does that in any form. And then moving on to the next one, video games are built for entertainment. And if you have a digital library, yes, granted it gives you the ability to have online conversations, say you're in the middle of a Call of Duty match, but when you own physical, you collect all your favourite games from your childhood and just games you like the look of, you might have never played them before. You'll notice, or at least me personally, I've started going out a lot more. I've pretty much stayed indoors for months and months and months on end. And I've started going out a lot more. I've started interacting with some real people. I was in like a local CEX store the other day, and I picked up a copy of Anthem for £1, literally £1 on the PS4, and I got it for my sister's partner. Like, he was with me in the shop. We went out to pick up some games together, grabbed Anthem for £1, and when I took it to the counter, I started having a chat with the lady that served us about how it's sad that Anthem never got the overhaul. It wasn't actually that bad of a game. It wasn't the greatest by any means, but they did add some cool abilities into the game, like making a combo with your primers, your detonators, and things like that, and you got to fly around in a mech suit exploring the game world. Even if the loot system wasn't the best, there were a load of flaws with the game, like lots and lots. It's a game that I've spoken about a lot on this channel. I absolutely loved Anthem, and it's going to be a game that I remember for a very long time. And the point is that you're going to have a much better social experience if you're a physical game collector, or even if you just grab the odd game physical, like the odd physical copy of a game. And I'm not even saying it'd be best to be a pure physical gamer or become a game collector, but at least have a mix of it. And I think that way you're going to, like, there's so many opportunities to meet some really cool people that you might be able to get on with. You might have the same opinions about some of your favourite games. Like, there's so many interesting, cool things that can happen if you're out and about in the world. And it saves you sitting on your ass and just waiting for your game to download and jumping online and playing it if you're buying it like through digital means. And then tying into the part about it being a lot more social to have physical games, it's also a lot cheaper if you don't mind second hand. Say for an example, you've got a PS3 or a 360 lying around. Say you've got an attic and you've left it up there for years, it's collecting dust. You just play on the PC now. But say one day it hits you and you really want to jump on, say, Black Ops 2, you want to go on zombies. Maybe you enjoyed the transit zombie map that they made. On Steam, it's going to cost you £40 to buy Black Ops 2, still to this day. Yes, there are sales. I don't think they happen too often for Call of Duty titles. I know they do happen. I'm not entirely sure how often they do. But if it's at its full price on Steam, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is £40. Even if you go to sites like key sites like CD Keys, they may have it a little bit cheaper, but if you've got a 360, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Like, if you're from the UK, jump into your local CEX, like just take a walk, jump in your car, whatever, go to your local CEX. On the 360, it's going to be £12 to pick up a physical copy of Black Ops 2. And then if you've got a PlayStation 3, it's going to cost you a fiver, £5 instead of 40. Say there's no sale on Black Ops 2. If you're buying it on Steam, it's £40. If you buy it on PlayStation 3, physical copy, at CEX, it's going to be £5. 360, Xbox 360 is 12 quid. And you might even pop into a local charity shop and grab it for £2 or £3. You never know what's going to happen out in the physical world. It's a lot of fun going exploring. And then we have the people keep talking about physical games no longer being physical. They require downloads for day one patches and things like that. Basically, there's talks about your physical media like not actually owning it. So being the same as digital, you just have a disc. But physical is still very much physical because at least some of the day one patches only fix very small performance issues, or they might enhance graphical features. Like, say for an example, there's a building that's not rendering in, they might have a fix for that in the day one patch. But if you disconnect your console from the internet, you can still play most of your games without those patches, without the need for internet. So that means you still own your physical copy of your game. There's a website called Does It Play, and what they do is they test games to see if they are playable without an internet connection, and they also test if the game requires a download to play. And 93%, so 7% off every single game, the 93% has offline play. You can play with no internet connection, and 74% also do not have a download that is required to play your game. So there are a lot of games out there that you don't need an internet connection for, and that you don't necessarily have to have a download in order to play. And one of the things, like moving on from that now, one of the things that bothers me about a small amount of physical games nowadays is when companies sell you the physical copy. But let's just say, for an example, as a Nintendo Switch game, you open up that case and inside that physical case is just a download code. There is no little Switch cartridge in there. Or the other thing is if there's a game that's got quite a big file size and there's barely any, if any, data at all on that disc. For an example, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, recent game, is roughly 130 gigabytes in size, and it requires the entire game to be downloaded before you can play it, even with a physical disc, because there's no data on the disc they have sold to you. But the good thing is, when you do have that game downloaded, you can play the game without an internet connection. I don't like games requiring a download. I believe the data should be put on the disc. And I say that because there was a recent Call of Duty, maybe the latest Modern Warfare or something, can't remember exactly which one. It did the exact same thing. And I believe if we're buying a physical copy, we should not have to do a full digital download to play that game. I don't know how many of you realise this, I've only realised it recently. But you know how nice it is to be able to just open up, like say you've got a PS2 Slim like I've got. I've got a bunch of old consoles now, and the PlayStation 2 I've got is the Slim. So you press the little button on it, the top of the disc tray opens up, you pop your disc in, you close it, you press your power button, you wait maybe 15-20 seconds, let the PlayStation 2 boot up, and you're straight into your game. Watching your games load instantly is so cool. And I say that and I appreciate it so much more because when I downloaded the digital version of Stalker 2, that took me 7.5 hours to install. My download speed for my internet is 50 megabits a second, so around 6.5 to 7 megabytes per second. And that's because Stalker 2 is 150 gigabytes, so it's only 20 gig bigger than Indiana Jones, but 150 gig for a single game. And yes, I do have very slow internet, but there are quite a lot of people out there that are in the same boat as me for internet, or maybe even worse. So I'm a strong believer in whacking that data on a disc, not requiring downloads, letting people play their games from the disc, saving people time. They've just been out and bought a game, they get home, they have to wait hours to be able to play it. Back in the days of the PlayStation 2, you go out, you grab a game, you come home, you put the disc in your console, turn it on, boom, you're in the game in seconds. And yes, we didn't have SSDs and things like that back then, so games load slower, but overall, you're in your game a lot faster. And then the last thing I want to say is I am in no way against digital games. I've been pretty much purely digital for about 10 years now. But recently starting a physical collection has made me realise how good it is, and it's made me appreciate physical games a lot more. And personally, I think having both physical and digital is the best outcome for gaming as a whole, and if companies can put the data on the discs, not require the internet to play, it would be a lot better. Every single company needs to continue, or what they need to start doing again is letting people play without internet connections and having the data on the disc. Buying a game for £60 or £70, going home and having to install 130 gig is frustrating. And to end this one off, if there was ever a transition to all digital, I don't think it's going to happen, or at least for the time being it won't. But if there ever was a transition to all digital, I would still play games. But with me personally having the beginning of a physical collection, I'd be quite disappointed. Although as I said, I can't see it happening at least for a very long time, thankfully. And I hope I'm right. I really hope we don't see a transition. It bugs me that you can buy Xboxes nowadays, digital editions. You can buy PlayStations, digital editions. And granted, your disc might get scratched, your disc drive might break or something like that, but it's always nice to have the option. And I think that's what we always need. Give people the option. If they want to play digital, let them. If they want to play physical, let them. Don't take one away and force the other. And as I said, if you've got any thoughts and opinions and stuff on the things we've spoken about in this video, let me know in the comments. But we are going to leave that video there. Quite a long one. But I wanted to get my 2 pence out. I wanted to let you know what I was thinking about the world of physical versus digital. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.